This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for Avoid the Maze, our journey through life. I am really excited about my guest today, Daniel Packard. We've had a hard time connecting. I think I've created some anxiety for him. He's created some anxiety for me, and that's what we're going to be talking about, anxiety. But I just want to preface this. When you woke up this morning, I'm sure you had a plan. You knew exactly where you were going to go and what things were going to happen to you today. And I did too. I went and I had an MRI. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I wasn't going to get results for 4 or 5 days. And my doctor was going to say to me, hey, nothing shows. Little did I know, I went for my MRI. I came home and the results were already online. And it says I have a torn rotator cuff. Not the way I planned to spend my day. However, I'm not going to let it cause me any anxiety because I don't know all the results. So with that said, we all do experience anxiety, don't we, Daniel? I mean, it's like, isn't that part of our DNA?
Well, first of all, I get that you're keeping calm given the situation, but I always also believe in acknowledging and just saying, well, that's a little scary and I'm sorry to hear that. And you asked a question that is it's the paradigm that people believe. And as you're going to learn over the course of this podcast, I'm here to completely reframe people's perceptions of fear, anxiety, panic attacks, PTSD. My company made some huge discoveries that really showed that our fundamental understanding that we're taught by therapists, I don't want to say it's wrong. I'll just say it's an incomplete model. And the problem is it's confusing people and making people believe that things such as anxiety, fear, PTSD is complicated. It's not. I'm going to explain to you that it's actually simple to solve it and be free of it. But also just what you said is a common belief, which is, don't we all deal with anxiety? Now, I get why you believe that. I absolutely get why you believe that. And I'll tell you this, it feels that way. It feels that way. However, there's a concept in science. I'm a mechanical engineer. That's how we figured out anxiety. We came at it not from psychological or a spiritual approach, but more mechanical, because spirituality and psychology it's nice to understand things and frameworks. But if you can't solve something, meaning get rid of it, it's good to have a real mechanical understanding. This connects to this. This isn't working because of this. If you take your car to a mechanic and your mechanic says, well, here's the problem. When you were younger, you grew up around an abusive father, so you drive a bit quicker, and so your shocks aren't working. And so really, we're going to look at your childhood. Or the mechanic says, actually, your shocks are just blown and I can just change your shocks. Like, do you want a psychological understanding of your car's problem, or do you just want a mechanical fix? Which do you want?
I want a mechanical fix because I want it to be fixed so I can move on.
Exactly. And psychology and spirituality, if you really look closely, they generally don't solve stuff. But if you understand something mechanically, you can solve things. When I didn't hurt my rotator cuff, but when I was 24, I was trying to impress this girl. We went to a dance club, and I'm a pretty good dancer. You can actually go to my website. There's a video of me dancing way better than a guy like me should. When people see me dance, they're impressed and confused because they're like, where did he? I don't know where it comes from. They call me James Light Brown. But anyway, that was one of my ways I try to get girls to like me, was I would dance. So anyway, I'm dancing, and I saw a music video that week where in the music video, somebody runs up a wall and does a flip. And I was, young and confident, and I thought I can do that. So I go to run up a wall. I get halfway up the wall, and I'm like, I can't flip off a wall. So I don't flip off a wall. I just kind of push off the wall, and I land pretty well. You know that superhero Spider-Man land where it's sort of like one knee down, and it's like ta-da. So I land like Spider-Man, and I look at her, and I feel my entire knee explode. So we ended up dating. I got the girl. Turns out she just liked me for me, not because of my dance moves. That took me years to figure out. But anyway, I go to, surprise, surprise, a knee expert who, doesn't light incense and do chakra clearing. What do? They do an MRI. And he says, hey, look, you have your ligament, your anterior cruciate ligament, the ACL, is torn. That's a mechanical issue. I go, okay. He said, so here's what we do. We take a ligament from another part of the body and we replace it. And that's a mechanical solution. Great. And they do that. And 2 months later, I was up and running, and I've never had a problem for 25 years. So that's the power of having a mechanical understanding of these things. That's why we're able to do it. Anyway, to get back to your question, here's what we saw. Anxiety is a symptom. It's a symptom of not feeling safe.
Okay.
Can you see that if you just don't feel safe from within, you will then feel a feeling called fear, and you might name that fear feeling anxiety, worry, panic, nervous. Make sense?
Sure.
Right. Now, what we discovered in our research when we went to go solve anxiety is, well, like, why? Why do we feel unsafe? There's no tigers around. People always ask, like, why do I feel so terrified? Why? What we saw was, and again, I'll go more into detail later, is there are things that are happening, a majority of them from you to you, that leave you feeling unsafe from within. When you feel unsafe from within, little things feel like big things. Make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Like if you're in a relationship with someone and you don't feel safe around them and they do something small, because you don't trust them, it'll impact you more than if you trust somebody. Make sense?
Sure.
Now we understand that, like, oh man, that person did something relatively small. They, they forgot something. And we understand that part of our response, part of it is what they do, but how much we respond has also to do with us. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is that people feel unsafe from within. They're not stable. They're not centered. They're not grounded. So when life pushes on you, instead of just feeling the pressure of life or a little bit of stress, we feel more, and we feel this spike, and we feel, quote unquote, anxious. But it's not the outside world that's making you anxious. The outside world is just pressure. It's pushing on you. And then because of your own unsafety from within, you feel it that much. But can you see it's not, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you don't brush and floss, your teeth are going to be kind of fragile. Okay. Now, healthy teeth, if you bite into a carrot, you'll feel the pressure of the carrot, but you won't feel pain. But if your teeth are fragile on the inside and you bite into a carrot, you don't just feel the pressure of the tooth, you feel pain. But because people know about tooth health and they know about root canals, if you bite into a carrot and you feel pain, you don't go, oh my God, I have carrot pain disorder. Oh my God, all this food is creating pain. You don't blame the carrot. You understand it's you. Make sense?
Exactly.
So the average person, for reasons I'm going to explain, feels unsafe from within. So life pushes on you. There's challenges, unknowns, and you feel this unsafety, this anxious. So it feels like everybody's anxious, but everybody's anxious not because the outside world is making people anxious, but because everybody feels unsafe from within. Now, I know this, and I can speak from experience because I was one of those people. And I would have told you, well, I mean, everybody's got a little bit of anxiety. That's how it felt, because I felt unsafe from within. Life would push on me and I'd feel anxious. So it felt like, doesn't everybody have this? Yes, everybody has it, but not because we have to. The program that we developed, I was one of the first test cases. We solved anxiety because we figured out a process so that a person can feel just safe from the inside out. I'm one of those test cases. I feel 100% safe from within. I wake up every morning feeling safe. Life pushes on me. I have challenges. I feel a little bit of stress for about, 3 to 5 minutes. I don't have anxiety. So your question was, doesn't everybody have anxiety? Yes, almost every person does. So it feels like this thing we just have to deal with. But that's kind of like saying, well, all these people have tooth pain. Doesn't everyone have to deal with tooth pain? No. So because what we figured out is so kind of innovative, myself and our clients, no anxiety. That was a long answer to your question. But the reason I want to bring it up is to let you know it feels like you just have to deal with anxiety. And the reason it feels that way is because the experts, the therapists, the psychologists, the doctors, the gurus, the coaches, they have an incomplete understanding of anxiety and they're just managing symptoms. They haven't figured out how to get to the root cause. Because they haven't gotten to the root cause, everyone's walking around feeling unsafe. And then because you go to the experts and that's the best they can do, and everyone's walking around feeling unsafe because they're going to the same experts, it feels like anxiety is just something you have to deal with because that's how it looks. And I'm telling you, no.
And
you don't.
am
And if
I
you have
correct?
one more thing,
Okay.
when you have anxiety all the time, you start to blame yourself. You think it's your fault. Oh, look at me. What's wrong? Oh, why do I care? I shouldn't care. And you start blaming yourself and feeling shame and guilt. So I'm here to wake people up. I'm tired of seeing it. I talk to clients all the day. I had it, all this shame and guilt. And what I'm here to tell you is you feeling anxious all the time, you're not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. And this is not your fault. The experts that you trusted didn't know how to solve this, so you still have it. But not because you're broken or there's anything wrong with you. The experts let you down. And I'm telling you that so that so that you know that you can feel safe and live anxiety free. We can help you with that. But also, at the very least, I'm tired of these experts leaving people feeling broken and trapped.
So what I'm hearing you say, and I think I know it firsthand, is that because therapists in modern medicine doesn't really understand anxiety, they give us labels for it. For instance, my son went through something, God, it's almost 13 years ago. Didn't tell anybody about it until about 2 years ago. And it got labeled, oh, you have PTSD. And now there's all these little triggers that turn him into this very angst person at times. And his therapists have told him, this is normal. We're going to help you, but we don't have the tools to cure you or have you cure yourself. And to me, that sounds very scary that you have something deep rooted fear and I have to live with it the rest of my life. There's got to be a way that I can release it.
Well, what you said is very important. And I'm sorry to hear that about your son, that he's going through that. I know, I can't imagine. And then for you to, every parent just wants their child to feel healthy and happy. And so there's a lot to unpack in what you just said. So the first thing is yes. Look, I'm just going to call it. And this is why I'm so confident. Growing up, my dad was a scientist. And he's told me something that's very important. He said, you know what, Daniel? Anybody can have a theory or an idea or a concept, but you don't know if they know what they're talking about. The person that you can trust, the person that you can say, that person probably knows what they're talking about, is the person that gets results. He said, results matter. And he said, that's what the world needs, not more theories and ideas or concepts. That's where you start. But what the world needs is results. So the reason I can sit here and tell you, we know what this is, and these people don't know what they're talking about, is simply because we have a process that solves various forms of fear, anxiety, and PTSD with a 90% success rate. That's where my confidence comes from. I'm not just sitting here being, everyone thinks their stuff is the best. The reason I think our stuff is the best, we have the data and we have a 90% success rate. Okay, nobody has a success rate that high. Also, because my dad told me that results matter, when we work with people, we do not take your money in the beginning because we haven't gotten you results. We collect money, which is way less than what we give you is worth, at the very end, when we collect results. If we cannot help you, we're not taking your money because results matter. Now, not only do we do that because it's the right thing to do, but also it means we must be getting results, because if we weren't getting results, I wouldn't have a company. So the fact that I have a company means we're probably getting results. You can't offer that guarantee unless you're getting results. So when you sit here and you think, this guy's awfully confident, why does he think he's so special? I don't think I'm special. I just think we have the results to back up what I'm saying. So going back to your question, the experts do not understand these things well enough to solve it. Okay, how do we know this? Modern psychology has been around for 100 years. Do you know how many things have improved in 100 years? So many things. Civil rights, rights of women, infant mortality, diseases have been eradicated. I mean, so many things have been improved. What's on the rise? Anxiety. Suicide is the #3 killer of teens on this in the world. Okay, so these experts, just based in results, don't know what they're talking about enough to solve it. But they're not honest about it. At least your guy or woman said, I can't solve this. But there's a word that gets used around anxiety, PTSD, which is the word disorder. You know, I've had clients come to me saying, you know, I was told by my therapist I have an anxiety disorder. That word disorder, first of all, if you're using the word disorder, you don't understand what it is. You see the symptom and you go, well, that's a problem, but you don't know what's going on. If you knew what was going on, you would explain what was going on. Okay, like, I don't know, let's say a pipe in your house breaks and there's water leaking into your house. You know why there's water in your basement. If somebody walked in and said, oh, you have a water abundance disorder, you'd be like, no, it's not a disorder. The water's coming from, it's simple. So anytime you're diagnosed with a disorder, or they call it even anxiety and saying you have anxiety, that's a diagnosis. It's not an understanding. Why am I anxious? Where is it coming from? So the therapists give you a diagnosis, and it just puts you in a category of pain. But they're not telling you what's going on. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
When people don't know what they're talking about, they tell you what it is. You're this. This is what's going on. But if they really knew what was going on, like when I took my knee into the knee doctor, he didn't say, you suffer from wobbly knee disorder. He didn't say you suffer from post-dance move trauma disorder. He's like, MRI, ACL, tore it, repair it, bada boom, bada bing. He didn't need to name it because he knew what the heck it was.
Right.
So you can tell I get very passionate. And the reason I get so passionate about it is because when I stayed in a relationship, an abusive relationship, way too long. And when I came out of it, I had crippling anxiety and PTSD. And I went to every therapist, psychologist, doctor, guru, spiritual teacher, ashram, meditation app, affirmation. I did EFT, EMDR, CGT, MOUSE. I mean, I did it all, Karen. I did it all. I tried all the letters. I went to all the experts with the letters. And after 10 years and $100,000, I still felt a little better, but I still had it. And that's not the problem. The problem is I didn't see it as a problem. I didn't see that these experts are letting us down. I blamed myself. I'm not a good spiritual student. I need to meditate more. Oh, I should have done the better practice. No, this is not our fault. The experts are not incentivized to solve it. And then they don't solve it, leaving us in our pain and feeling more and more confused. And I'm not here to denigrate the experts. They're doing the best they can. But I am here to wake up your audience and say, this is not your fault. This is not complicated. This can be simple. You do not have to live like this. And I get very passionate. Here's why I get so passionate. Every day I talk to people with crippling PTSD, anxiety, and or panic attacks, some version of that. And some of them were able to help. But when I tell them that we're solving this, meaning you're free of it, and it's simple, they don't believe me. They think it's too good to be true. And then I can't help them. And that's why this pisses me off. We have been so hypnotized and conditioned to tolerate this poor level of treatment that we then internalize thinking, I must be broken. This must be me. That when I walk along and say, no, actually, we can solve this, they can't process it. It's like people who are in abusive relationships and then like somebody good comes along and they're like, oh, I don't deserve this. That's my problem. It breaks my heart. I see people every day not get our help because they have been tricked into believing that this is complicated in a life sentence. And that's what pisses me off about the therapists and psychologists, not what they're doing, that they're leaving millions of people feeling trapped and confused and guilty and shameful. And it pisses me off because we're all here to help and we're not able to help as many people because people are so confused.
Well, and we're getting confused by the media. Okay. I mean, the media basically, is throwing medications at us and all types of therapies. And if we don't understand it, we don't even understand what our problem is, how do we understand which is the right path to take? Because I will tell you, 10 years ago, I went through what I now call a severe depression, but I knew what was causing it. I knew it. And when I went to a therapist and said, I know this is causing it, how do I break away from it? She looked at me and she said, well, no, it must be other things. And it was like, maybe it is, but can we work on this one thing right here? Because I see it and I want to pull it apart and throw it out the window. And I worked with her for 6 months, went every single week. And finally I said to her, I'm going to do it on my own. And I did. I basically talked myself down. I wrote daily in a journal about what was bothering me and how I got to that point and where did I want to go. And I don't think about that anymore. But I was strong-willed enough to be able to do that. Not everybody is.
Well, one, credit to you to even see what it was and then the courage to do it. But what it illuminates again is the experts don't know as much as they claim, and we keep giving them expert status, and it's confusing everybody because we're trusting people that don't have the data and the results to back it up. I trust my knee doctor. Why? I went in, he solved it, I went out. He earns my trust. But as we know, therapists, psychologists, spiritual teachers, they don't have that track record. And what you pointed to, and this is the big problem. Our program is effective for two reasons. One is we found a root cause of anxiety that makes it solvable. And then we spent 8 years to test a system that by the time we had optimized it and worked with 3,000 people on 5 continents and spent over $1 million in research and development, the reason it's effective for two reasons. One is it's just an effective approach. Two, it's simple, Karen. It's simple. But that's like a revolution because your average person with PTSD, fear, anxiety, panic attack, man, they are so heavily, what is this? Where is it coming from? Is it hormones? One person said it's a lack of gratitude. One person said I need to exercise more. One person says it's supplements. Meanwhile, none of it's getting to the bottom of it. Not only can you not get to the bottom of it, you feel more anxious. I talked to clients, this was 5 weeks ago, a client reached out to us. Her name was Karen, by the way. And she said, I have had anxiety and panic attacks my whole life, pretty much the last 20 years. And I have tried everything, the apps, the supplements, the retreats, nothing has gotten rid of it. And she said, but I met somebody at a party who also had anxiety and panic attacks. And they told me what you do and that you only charge at the end. So it's like no risk to try. So she said, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. And I said, so tell me about your experience with anxiety. She said, well, not only am I anxious all the time, so I'm not doing what I love. I'm exhausted all the time. I can't focus. I'm not the wife and the mom I want to be, but also I'm online on Google every night getting pulled into these wormholes trying to figure out what the F is going on with me, which just keeps me up at night and makes me more anxious. And I said, I know. Does your anxiety feel complicated? She said, it has to be complicated. I said, how do you know? She said, well, and I said, what if it's simple? And she said, there's no way it's simple. And I said, our program is no risk to try. So it's worth a shot. She said, look, if you can just solve my anxiety, that's great. If you can make it simple, double gold stars. So she went through our program. It's a 6-week program. And 3 weeks in, she sent a message to my team and she said, just tell Daniel, thank you so much. And we asked her, is your anxiety fully gone? She said, it's not fully gone. It's down by about 50% already. She said, but more importantly, in the first couple of days of the program, I saw, this is simple. This is totally solvable. And she said, just seeing that it was simple allowed her to relax and feel calmer. And it gave her hope that she really could be free of this. So not only are we helping people by allowing them to be free of fear and anxiety, but what a gift to just make this effing simple. Can you see how important that is and why that matters?
Everything in life appears to be so complicated anyways. So when somebody can offer you a simple solution and you can see it, I mean, wow.
I can't tell you how meaningful it is, because I remember how scared and confused I felt. And just to know that something is simple just allows people to breathe easy right away. What we do is so simple. I've taught this to 10-year-olds. I've gone into schools and I've taught them the basic principles of what we do to show them that how they can feel safe from within. As we can see, our young people are entering a world that's quote unquote very scary. Now, I can't change global warming. I can't make social media cute and cuddly. But what I've discovered is a very simple daily practice that somebody can do to feel safe from within. And it's so simple that we teach it to 9 and 10-year-olds. Can you see the impact on the planet if we could get this to the schools in the world such that every little kid from the time he was 9 years old could wake up every morning feeling safe? Can you see that that would dramatically transform their life?
Well, and I think, and this is my own opinion, okay, I think too many of our children are being labeled and diagnosed with all different situations. My son at 6 years old went to school one day. He was a normal little boy, had friends, doing well in school. Next day, we get a call from the school nurse saying, we believe your son is on the autism spectrum. Before he returns to school, you have to go see a doctor and get a diagnosis. Now, wait a second. He was just typical, normal yesterday. Today, he's got autism. And of course, my brain went to severe autism, but that's not what my son looked like. We went to the doctor. We got a diagnosis. And then the school treated him differently. Kids didn't want to be his friends because the parents were afraid, because the parents didn't understand. So talk about anxiety. Kids who played with him and liked him now weren't allowed to play with him anymore. I mean, it was an absolute horrible thing that happened to him because he is so high functioning that we didn't need a label, okay? I don't know what they were trying to treat, but I see that happening all the time, and you see the numbers going up. Every child is ADD, ADHD. Like, really? They can't all be.
We're seeing these patterns, and you're absolutely right. You're like, why are these things on the rise? I'm sure there's many answers to that. Here's what I'm going to tell you. How do they know? What would have been more responsible? Look, they're experts. So experts get trained to diagnose this is what it is so they can keep their expert status. Okay. But like, maybe they should have gone to you and said, hey, we noticed some behaviors of your son that we noticed. Let's look at that. That's fine. We can look at symptoms and say, hey, that's a little wobbly. That's interesting. Maybe we should explore that. But then to say it is this that creates this diagnosis, which is people think is I'm broken, there's something wrong with me. That's the issue. And they don't even know how to fix it. So they just get to walk around and go, oh, autism, on the spectrum. Okay. Yep. Not only did you make it worse, you're not helping if you could help. So that's what pisses me off. And I know, look, let me make this simple, okay? I'll give you a big insight to how simple a lot of this could be, all right? Let's just look at the word anxiety. Now, even just that word, I've got anxiety. I'm anxious. Do you know what that means? Like, do you really know what I'm anxious? What does that mean?
I know how it makes me feel.
Right.
But I
you
don't.
have your experience.
Yeah.
And you may say, oh, I feel this and I feel that. But people throw around these words. I have anxiety. What do you mean you have it? What, did you get it and pick it up? Like, how do you have it? Is it a backpack? Is it a wristwatch? How do you have anxiety? It doesn't make sense. Or I'm an anxious person. They've just labeled it. Well, why? What is going on such that this is happening? I've got anxiety. How'd you get it? What is it? The boogeyman? Like, these words get thrown around, but they don't make it doesn't explain what's going on. So do you want me to explain to you what's going on?
Absolutely.
Okay, I kind of already did, but we're going to recap because it's important. Take out the word anxiety, okay? Because it's a misnomer. It's kind of like the word love. It gets thrown around a lot, but sometimes it's not always accurate. So take out the word anxiety, okay? And instead, swap in the word nervous, okay?
Right.
What if just your average human is feeling different versions of nervous? A little bit of nervous is worry. A lot of nervous is anxious. Super duper amount of worry, nervous, panic attack. But let's just use the word nervous. Okay? And there's a reason I'm choosing the word nervous. Because when we went to go solve anxiety, the first big clue, the huge breakthrough that made this possible is we saw that the location that we're told anxiety is a problem of is wrong. We are told anxiety is a problem of the mind. They tell us to not believe our scary thoughts, don't think about the future too much. They give us pills to target the neurotransmitters in the brain. It's called mental health. It's got the word mental right in there. So the experts are telling everybody, hey, you got a mind thing. This is a problem of the mind. First of all, they use the word problem, which is a horrible word, but it's in the mind.
Right.
So everyone says, oh, I got a mind issue. Now, the mind is part of it. The mind says a lot of scary things, and then you feel afraid. So it looks like it might be the mind. But again, if the mind was the root cause, why haven't they figured this out yet? So I'm an engineer. We looked at results and we said, if they were right that the location is the mind, why haven't they solved this yet? My knee doctor showed me the problem was in my knee and it was a ligament issue. 2 months, I've been fine for 25 years. So clearly he knew the right location. But if you're not getting results, maybe you don't know. So because we weren't therapists or experts, we could just kind of challenge everything. And we said, is it coming from the mind? I don't know. And we started looking, maybe anxiety is, coming from somewhere else. And so we started to pay attention because we wanted to solve this. We didn't want to just keep believing what the experts said. We passionately wanted to solve this. And we listened to people. Do people say, I think anxious or I feel anxious? What do people say? I think anxious or I feel anxious?
Well, I feel anxious.
Yeah, you feel anxious.
Yeah.
And where do we feel it? Well, your throat can close up, your chest can tighten, your heart rate can go up, your stomach can get that queasy feeling. Okay, so you got all these experts going around telling everybody it's a problem of the mind, and they haven't solved this in over 100 years of modern psychology. In fact, it's on the rise. And they're telling you it's a problem of the mind. But listen to those words: throat, chest, heart, stomach. Does that sound like the mind to you or more like the body?
It's more like the body.
It's more like the body. Does that seem complicated or simple?
That's fairly simple to me.
Yeah, and it's simple because it's true. Anxiety is not a problem of the mind. It's a problem of the body. It's in the body. And you intuitively already know this. The mind is part of it. The mind is a symptom of the body. Have you ever noticed that when you feel a little bit more afraid and anxious, your mind tends to follow and notice more problems?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And when you feel more calm, you tend to notice more good things?
Yep.
Because the mind is hardwired to follow the body. The mind is a tool to get the body what it wants. You feel hunger in your body first, then your mind senses there's a problem and tries to figure out where to go eat food. It's reflexive. So if you feel fear in the body, your mind thinks there's a problem and starts scanning and looking for the problem and looping, trying to find the problem. It starts to make up problems, which then makes you feel more afraid. But can you see that the mind isn't the cause of anxiety? It's just a symptom of where anxiety is actually coming from, which is the body.
Interesting.
What do you think about what I'm saying?
It's a fairly simple concept because, I do a podcast with a coach, and one of the first things that we talk about this a lot is, where are you feeling that? And it's like I'm feeling it in my chest. Oh, I'm feeling it in my hands. I'm feeling it in my body. And what does that do for you? And some of those feelings are great feelings. And some of them, they hurt. But your brain is hearing what the rest of your body is feeling.
Mm-hmm. But the point is like when I tell people this, they go, oh, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because it's simple, and it makes a lot of sense because it's true. I'm not making this up, Karen. Okay. When we said, wait a minute, this whole anxiety is problem of the mind theory, it's not getting the job done. Maybe it's somewhere else. Oh, I know, I'm feeling it here. Why don't we go here? And when we started to develop our process that just focused on the body, surprise, frickin' surprise, my anxiety and PTSD went down and stayed down. That's the key. That's how you know you're in the root cause. It goes away and stays away. And then because the mind is a symptom of the body, my mind, now that I didn't feel fear in my body, my mind went quiet. I have not felt anxiety or PTSD in 10 years. Why? Not because I'm a genius or a guru or enlightened, because we went to the right location. And not only is my body calm, but my mind is calm. My mind used to be constant criticism, doubt, fear, catastrophe. It was like the two judges from the Muppets. Remember them up there?
Yep.
Like, you suck. Yes. What's wrong with you? And now I wish to God people could do an MRI scan of my mind and you could see how quiet it is. It's like a meadow. It is so quiet. There's a little butterfly. It's so quiet in my mind. And when my mind does talk, Karen, it says nice things. And most importantly, it's permanent. That's the power of engineering and going to the right location. Now, the first thing is, this is true. This is not theory. The way we're able to get a 90% success rate, the way we're able to only charge at the end when it works is because we're in the right location. But also, if you're listening to this, this is why you still have these symptoms. Not because you're broken or trapped or weak or crazy, because the experts had an incomplete understanding and sent you to the wrong place. So you've just been chasing symptoms your whole life and it was never going to go away. So you're not broken. This isn't your fault. You were confused. So you don't have an anxiety problem. You have a location problem. Does that make sense?
Certainly does.
Thank you. Simple, right?
That's very simple.
Very simple. Sometimes when people find out that we're solving anxiety, they'll say, how do you do, like, what's the thing? Like, is it ayahuasca? Do you do? And I'm like, we actually just go to the right location. That's all it is. Now, to answer your question, I just wanted to first get that part. Your anxiety is coming from your mind, from your body. But that's not enough to solve it. Where in the body and why? So the beauty of the body is that the body is way more easy to understand. The mind, nobody understands the mind. There's like 180 billion neurons, 100 trillion synaptic pathways. They don't understand the mind. But the body, a lot of the body is pretty well mapped out. There's a skeleton, there's arteries, there's ligaments, you got teeth and eyeballs and tongue and hair and follicles. A lot of it is pretty well understood what's going on, right? And the body, a lot of it is mechanical. Your skeleton's mechanical, your arteries are mechanical, your skin's mechanical. It's all mechanics. So I'm an engineer and I said, okay, there are systems in the body and all systems have mechanics. Your respiratory system has mechanics. If you eat your guacamole, toast too fast and it blocks your airway, you're going to choke. That's just mechanics.
Right.
So I said, there has to be a system in the body that's making everybody feel this way. If we can find the system and understand why it's malfunctioning, then we can figure out how to repair it. Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, so let's go back. Take out that word anxiety, and let's go with the word nervous. What
Okay.
system in the body do you think is most likely responsible for making everybody feel extra nervous? The respiratory system, the capillary system, or the nervous system?
Yep.
Yep. And you're smiling. Why are you smiling,
Yes.
Karen?
Because that is the simple part of it. We don't look at that at all.
Yeah, I know. It's so simple. You've got millions of people walking around with different versions of nervous. There's a system in the body called the nervous system. And the experts are like, oh man, you got a brain problem. No, what are you kidding? You had 100 years to figure this out. And there was a system called the nervous system. And you're telling me to focus on the mind? Come on, guys. They're asleep at the wheel, man. They're complacent. We figured this out because we cared, Karen, not because we're smarter, because we said this, people are in pain, man. They need more results. So we just went looking for the simple thing. So here's the thing. Everybody has a nervous system. Just like any system in the body, your nervous system can malfunction. When your nervous system malfunctions, it shows up by feeling unsafe. Make sense?
Certainly does.
Okay. Nobody wants to feel unsafe. If you feel unsafe, you will do whatever you can to feel safe or cope with that. It is primitive. It's reflex. Nobody wants to feel unsafe, and you will do whatever it takes to cope with that. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. ADHD, attention deficit disorder, diagnosis, poor attention, can't focus. If you feel unsafe, can you see that it's a bit harder to focus?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have clients all the time. This happened 2 years ago. A gentleman came in and he said, I have crippling anxiety. I want to do your program. I met somebody who swears by what you did. It's no risk to try it. I want to try it. And he said, but I'm worried. I have ADHD. Will that get in the way of my process? Now, I didn't say this to him because I didn't want to. People barely believe we solve anxiety, let alone two things at once. So I don't bring it up. People already think what we do is too good to be true. I have to downplay what we do. So I didn't say anything. So I said, yes, you'll be fine. Because one, this program is very simple and it's a lot of exercises that you repeat over and over and over again. So you can even, so he goes through our program. It's a 6-week program. And I talked to him on week 5. His name was Bill. He was from Idaho. And, you know, because we track your anxiety levels as you go through the program, I knew his anxiety was already down by about 80%. So I checked in with him. I said, hey, Bill, how are you doing? He's like, oh my God. He said, I woke up feeling safe for the first time, probably since childhood. And I said, and what happened to your anxiety? He's like, oh, it's just gone. And I said, cool, right? He said, yeah. And I said, what about your ADHD, Bill? He's like, funny you should mention that. He said, just yesterday, I was at my farm and my ADHD symptoms were gone. He said, I thought it was because I had taken my pills, but then he remembers I had taken my pills. He said, what happened? Where did it go? And I said, what if you didn't have ADHD? What if you felt unsafe from within and that affected your focus? And he went, oh my God. Obsessive compulsive disorder. If you feel unsafe from within, you're going to feel out of control and you're going to want to create a sense of control. Can you see that if you feel unsafe from within, you might obsess over certain things as like a coping mechanism to feel safe and in control?
Yes.
Yeah. This was 8 months ago. A woman came in and she said, oh, not only do I have anxiety and panic attacks, I have OCD. I've been diagnosed with all these things. I'm so broken. And my heart just went out to her because I know that's what she's been led to believe. And I showed her, she booked a free consultation with me, which, you could do at my website. And she was convinced she has all these problems. We all are. Why? Because, well, the therapists and psychologists make a lot more money when they convince us there's all these problems and they can't solve the problems. So if you're handing out Band-Aids to multiple problems, that is a really good business model. So I told her, I showed her, what if you just feel unsafe and the OCD is a coping mechanism. The anxiety and the panic attacks are just symptoms. And she said, I mean, that makes so much sense. And I said, so you're not broken. You don't have these things. You didn't get them. They're just symptoms of your nervous system is out of whack. And our program brings it back to health. And then you feel safe. And she said, I mean, it sounds good. Sounds a little too good to be true. I said, I know, but try it. If it doesn't work, you don't pay. And she left a voice message to me on WhatsApp, and she was just crying, with gratitude, because she said not only does she feel safe, so her panic attacks vanished quickly. That was the first to go. Her anxiety dropped by about 80%, probably 75, 80% within 5 weeks. And she said she used to obsess over cleaning in her house. And she said, I'm not doing it anymore. And she said, I'm free. She said, what your program is doing is it's giving people what we all want, which is freedom. And so, I don't know, it's what we all want. And it's what we're very proud of, because we're all here to help. And I'm just sick and tired of all this, pardon my French, crap out there that keeps people trapped in this hamster wheel of shame and guilt and management. And if you're listening to this and you want to be free of this stuff and you have the courage to let this stuff go, because trust me, even though people say they want to get rid of their anxiety and trauma, if they've had it a very long time, they start to identify with it and they think, this is me, what will life be without it? And it makes them scared. And then an anxious person is scared. So I talk to people daily who logically want help, and I'll see them sabotage because they're afraid to let this go. So while our process works for everybody, not everybody's ready. You have to have the courage to let this go. And it breaks my heart, Karen, when I see people that have been so demoralized and lost hope and think they're broken that now they can't even get the help that would actually help them. But if you feel fear, anxiety, panic attacks, OCD, ADHD, anything that you would describe as fear, and you have the courage to let this go so that you can be free of this and get your life back, be authentic, be open-hearted, be a better parent, spouse, be a better leader, enjoy work again. If you have the courage to let this stuff go, that's our passion. That's what we love to do.
Well, I'm so glad that we had you on, because I know I'm going to have my son contact you. Absolutely. But one of the things that I write about in my coaching program is we have to take the first step if we want to get better, whatever that better might be. And, maybe it will work for you, maybe it won't, but you've proven something. What do you have to lose? And if it works, it's a miracle. It's a miracle because you finally gave into it. You finally took that step. Too many of us are sitting back going, I don't want to know. I don't want another problem. Well, we have to open up our minds. Let's be mindful of the good things that are out there. And it sounds like your program is one of them. How can people find you, Daniel?
Well, I like to keep things simple. My name's Daniel Packard. Just go to danielpackard.com, and there you can learn more about the program, the basics, how it's structured. It's 4 modules. It's 6 weeks. We give you the basics so you understand how it works. There's also a frequently asked question section in there to answer your basic questions. There's a beautiful testimonial reel of people that had a life full of feeling unsafe and anxious and are now calm and free. So that's there. You can go see the dance video of me entering a dance video. If you pay attention halfway through the video, I start to hyperventilate because I'm so exhausted, but I'm hopped up on adrenaline, so I keep dancing. But anyway, dance video. And then if you're ready, the next step is that you book a call with me.
Okay.
But again, it takes courage. people, because they love to say, well, how does it work? What if it doesn't work? What's the, and I always just tell people, look, no matter what I tell you, you won't know until you try it. But what I want people to understand is you only pay at the end when it works. We did that specifically because I saw when we first developed this program, we thought, oh my God, we cracked the code. We're going to help so many people. And people would come to us who had been referred by someone who had gotten benefits, and they said, this is too good to be true. Or they thought, well, I'll fail. And we weren't able to help the people we wanted to help. And it was heartbreaking. We spent 8 years, my whole life's work, and we couldn't help people. And I was sitting here seeing this guy. His name was Eric. He had suicidal thoughts because he was anxious all the time and he felt trapped, no way out. But because he'd been so trained to believe that he was broken and this wouldn't work and everything else had failed him, I got it. He thought this was too good to be true. But this guy's life was literally on the line. And I said, look, just do the program. Just do the program. You pay me at the end. And he said, wait, what? You're just going to let me do it? I said, yeah. I mean, otherwise, you're going to maybe, I can't, I don't want that on my, I said, just do the program. And when it works, pay me. And he said, so I can just try it. I said, you can just try it. He went, oh, okay. And so he did it. And we saved his life. And the reason we saved his life is partly because our program is incredible, but also because we allowed people to pay at the end. So skeptical people who are convinced they're broken and trapped can get the help that they need. So it's not just the right thing to do, which is to charge people only when you help them, but we do it specifically so that we can help you. And I'm just bringing that up so that people understand what we do and why we do it. So if you like what you're hearing, if you've heard me say, this makes sense, not in the mind, you go to the body. It's the nervous system. Systems in the body can malfunction, but we also know we can repair systems. It's no risk to try it. And it seems like these people, care. If that sounds good to you, go to the website, danielpackard.com, read up. But then ultimately, it's up to you to have the courage. You just book a free consultation with me, 15 minutes. You tell me more about yourself, and I'll show you some insights. I'll show you how we can help you. If you want our help, great. If not, that's okay too. We're not here to pressure you. You have to really want this. So if you're ready to let this go, if you have the courage to try one more thing, because as you said, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. If you see the value in that, come find us. We would love to help you be free and feel safe and live the life you were meant to live.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to have you back on again because I'm sure we're going to miss some people this time around. And I want to get the word out. Thanks, Daniel. Have a great day.